remember when I said it's probably 5 weeks ago or so at this point, but I said I needed to get really gory, really bloody, really ugly. I just needed the Yankees to completely implode. I know it's probably odd coming on after a win and saying this, but I got to tell you. So the Yankees at this point are now being publicly mocked by somebody on the Tampa Rays. And this is even lower than I could have possibly imagined. There's a much greater point here, and this, I think, will end favorably. Listen to Brandon Lau.
Looking at it, it's a last-place team against a team that's in contention. You know, there's trying to ignite something over there, whatever. Not worth our time at this moment. You know, we're focused on bigger things right now than worrying about a little on-field scuffle. You know, we need each game. They're not really in each game.
Not worth our time. Well, that certainly constitutes rock bottom. Remember when George used to there was a point where George Steinbrenner obviously, was concerned about the Mets and the back pages and the Red Sox and Toronto. But even George, when they were the Devil Rays and they were a pitiful doormat for the Yankees and others to basically roll in and just improve upon their stats, win a 3-game series by the aggregate score of 27-6. I'm just throwing something out there. Remember those days? Oh, those days were actually really fun. Well, this public mocking by Brandon Lau, all right, to me is further proof that Hal will fix this with his wallet. Something I also said last week, and many of you disagree with. Like, you could be the most patient person in the world. When a billionaire, all right, gets embarrassed, that's when it's go time. And I believe that the Yankees are prepared to spend in a way that many of you don't believe that they will. Like, all I hear from you is, I wish the Yankees would spend like Steve Cohen. I wish the Yankees would do this. I wish the Yankees would go back to 2009 when they basically bought a championship and spent $250 million, bringing in 3 horses, 2 pitchers, 1 stud hitting, switch hitting first baseman, Gold Glover and Teixeira, that it actually worked out. Well, I don't know if it's going to work out, but I am just further emboldened to tell you, whatever you think that Hal is going to do, or maybe more specifically, not do this offseason, you are going to be wrong. He is going to fix this, or at least he is going to try. Quote, it's just against the last place team, against a team that's in contention, which is why we don't have time for these mere peasants. We don't have time for the lint in our collective baseball pants to even fight the New York Yankees, because we are so above the Yankees, who have morphed into this pitiful last place story, hemorrhaging everywhere. We're not even going to waste our time possibly getting hurt against these pitiful, pathetic Yankees, that we will just, we'll collect a win, we'll win another series. By the way, Yankees haven't won a series. There's no team in baseball that, and maybe it's probably going to end against Detroit. No team in baseball has gone longer without winning a series. Just think about that. But I called for it, and I think many of you thought that I was nuts. What is this guy saying? So this devout Yankee fan, an unabashed, although certainly realistic and transparent Yankee fan, but an unabashed Yankee fan, is calling for blood and gore and rock bottom and implosion, about 4 or 5 weeks ago. And I said that because to me, that would be the only impetus that would force Hal Steinbrenner to react the way we need him to react. Well, that's great, Brandon. Okay, so you're laying out this opinion that based on Brandon Lau basically using the Yankees as a punchline, okay, the other day, Sunday in Tampa. Well, now this will inspire the owner to do things that he hasn't done for a long time. Fantastic. Strong opinion. What do you think he's going to actually do? I'll tell you what I think is going to actually be in play for the Yankees. Number 1, Ohtani. And I never really thought that. Like, if you've listened to me and Teak, if you listen to me and Sal, I've always said that I think that the Mets will absolutely be featured prominently at the table with Ohtani and the discussions for Ohtani. But I never once thought the Yankees would really be in play, not on any sort of a serious level. I do now. You know what? Boom, lefty power, problem solved. What else do you think that they could do? This will do. I've been telling you this for a while. and I really believe this, and very few of you see this happening, Stanton's gone. Giancarlo Stanton's going to be gone. And the way he's going to be gone is that the Yankees will finally realize that he's a one-trick pony, he's a diminished talent, they're going to have to eat a chunk of that money. And the moment they do so, boom, automatically much more athletic. Much more of a circular lineup. I think it's in play. Ohtani, Stanton. All right, what else? You trade Torres. And listen, here's the thing. There's the baseball aspect of trading Torres, which, I know he's the second best hitter on the team. I trust me, I know. Not a winning player. There is no way in hell I'm giving that guy $100 and whatever million to come and lollygag half the time on the bases and, make these, half the time be a space cadet. Now, when he's into it, he looks amazing. I'm not riding with that guy. Not winning a World Series with him, being a prominent piece of the puzzle. So the money that I'm not going to pay him, okay, is now going to be earmarked. I mean, again, you need a lot more for Ohtani. I don't know. How about somebody like Bellinger? So with two moves, the Yankees can go from basically devoid of any sort of lefty power, especially without Rizzo, to Ohtani, who's the preeminent lefty in the planet, and Bellinger, who's back to the guy that we thought he was for a couple of years, And that's where you start. That's where you start. So I think it's very hard for you to see this. I think it's very hard for you to believe this. It is one thing to sit here, the Yankees get bounced, and we did rant and rave, and I guess that was game 3, and it was like a morgue last year with the Astros. I actually felt that stadium had the juice of a spring training game in the 7th inning when all the veterans have jumped on the bus and bounced from the facility, and you got 6 guys out there wearing numbers in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, none of whom were judged, by the way, I mean, come on. It was awful. But they can justify keeping to their financials. Hal could justify keeping to his financial script because they made a lot of money and they won a round in the playoffs, and you could position it as, and literally he was right, we're a couple of games away from being in the World Series. Yeah, but those couple of games represented a couple of miles in actuality when you judged the Yankees versus the Astros, the actual players on the field. But he was able to ignore the yells and the screams and us imploring him, dude, you got to fix this. You're nowhere near it. All right? That's one thing. When somebody on a team in your division that has a payroll that is 30% of what you have, a team that you used to walk into their stadium and, not literally, but close, wipe your spikes on their uniforms to make yourself at home before you would destroy them. Now, number one, they've been better than the Yankees for years. And now, to add insult to injury, Brandon Lau said to the entire baseball world, quote, why they didn't really feel the need to fight. It's a last-place team against a team in contention, end quote. In essence, we don't need to mess around with these peasants. They're chumps. We have bigger things to do. Wow. Oh, man. I mean, if that is not the flare that shoots across the Yankee universe and finally serves as a real impetus to Hal doing what he needs to do, then nothing will. Zero. 877-337-6666. BT and Sal on the Fan. No, Sal has not been quiet for the first 11 minutes. Sal's still on vacation. This is it. This is the lever that's pulled, like the ejection seat. Now it's time to really radically change course. I said this last week. I believe even more today. It's coming. You don't see it. It's coming. It's coming. All right. First up, Michael in West Islip on the Fan, BT and Sal. What up, Mike?
Hey, BT. Thank you for taking the call. Love the show.
Thanks, pal. What's going on, man?
Normally, I am in lockstep with you regarding Cashman and the Yankees,
Yep.
but I'm sorry you're deluding yourself here. First of all, Howe complained in the spring that the Yankees were having trouble making interest payments.
Yep.
So they're not all of a sudden going to open up the checkbook and start shelving out $1 billion to make this team better. Second of all, Howe has shown no inclination whatsoever that he's the one who's going to make any of the baseball decisions. And until Cashman steps up and says, you know what, guys, I've screwed this team up and it needs to be fixed, it's not changing. And one or two free agents, regardless, even if they decide to spend the money, 2 players doesn't make this team a championship team.
Well, no, I'm not. Hold on, no, Mike. I'm not saying it makes them a championship team. What I'm saying is, it gets them off the current financial course where they've been so uber aware of going over tax thresholds, et cetera, and they've ignored so many issues. I'm not. No, they need a lot of things. You're telling me if Ohtani's DHing and Bellinger is playing every day with Judge and with Volpe, who's just going to get, that's not a good team?
It's a playoff team. It's not a championship team.
Okay, well, it's better than the team this year. It's a starting point.
I'm not saying that, but my real point is that if you want the Yankees back to being a championship contender every year, it has to be a complete deconstruction.
Well, that's
Throwing
a given,
money
dude.
No,
Mike, I agree. Nobody's been screaming about Cashman more than me. I mean, I just can't. Listen, I can't. Number one, it's just, after a while, it's boring to me, and I would imagine it's got to be boring to you. I mean, okay, maybe you laugh. Maybe you find it mildly entertaining if I go on a Cashman rant, but yeah, I don't do radio just to do rants for the sake of doing rants. I do radio because it's in my blood. I love it. I say what I mean. And when a rant comes up, it's going to come up organically. Not going to be some contrived whatever. I mean, the Cashman stuff is what I'm on the record. I'd fire him. What else do you want me to say? I said that before anybody. Before anybody. You want me to say it every day? That's a given. Cashman should be gone. I'll say it once more in case you didn't hear it again. Cashman should be gone. Boone should be gone. The new general manager should select the new manager. But that's independent of what I'm saying today. Again, that's been long established. What I'm saying today is you are sleeping on what Hal's about to do. You are sleeping on it. Listen, there's 2 things that will get a businessman or woman to react with ferocity. All right? Unabashed ferocity. And what I mean ferocity is something so palpable that it's going to change the course of the product in the last couple of years, right? Number 1, public embarrassment. You just heard it. A guy who's hitting 220, I know he's a good player, hitting 220 on the Rays, basically said, you are an ant at this point. We step on you en route to the playoffs. Number 1. Number 2, and this is huge, and this is what I leaned on last week. The Lau stuff is new. Brand diminishment. And there's this thought that the almighty, all-powerful, legendary New York Yankees are beyond reproach when it comes to their brand. That is nonsense. That's nonsense. I mean, I don't partake in this, trust me, but you already have people like, setting up fire Cashman nights. The ratings are not what they were. These are things that you calculate when you own a business. And with so many other things in the world, other diversions serving as entertainment outlets, not to mention the fact that half the time it's freaking impossible to find out where the Yankees or Mets are even playing. Let's see. So the first thing I do, I go to Yes. Oh, they're not on Yes tonight. I guess I'll go to WPIX or 9 when, Yanks and Mets bounce around. Okay. It's not there. I don't think it will be on MLB Network because it'd probably be blacked out. No, not there either. That's the Orioles in Toronto or the Dodgers and the Giants. Not there either. All right, let me get the other remote and let me go to Prime. No, they're not on Prime tonight. They got to be on Apple. You know what I've done at that point? I said, I'm not watching baseball. That's what I've said. I'm not watching that night. I don't hide that. If I've got to jump through hoops to watch a team that's not even interesting, I'm not watching. And I'm not alone. That is what I mean about brand diminishment. It is real stuff. 877-337-6666. BT and Sal here on the Fan. Inside of our Town Fair Tire studio, our friends at Town Fair remind you that you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. It is going to be nice being right about this. And I don't really do things to be right or wrong, but there's so few of you with me. This one's going to be satisfying. I'm going to have to, and I'll do it, with a smile because, that's the kind of person that I am. Oh, I'm going to flex on you someday. Someday, so there's going to be a flex moment during the winter. Dude, you were right. All the calls coming in. Sal's going to be scratching his head because he's going to hear 4 hours of people telling me that I was right. You were the only one. Wow, you really saw this coming. Bellinger, Ohtani, this, that. Oh, they ate some money on Stanton. This guy's gone. Wow, it's a new Yankees. It's coming. Jimmy's in Belleville. Jimmy, what's cooking, buddy? How you doing today?
Hey, how you doing, BT?
What's up, Jimbo?
So, I honestly love everything that you're saying. The one thing I don't see happening is how spending the money if Brian's in charge. But at the same time, I think about in the offseason, Sal was the one that closed the deal on Judge. I mean, not that was Sal. I mean, Hal was the one that closed the deal.
Yeah, what he called him, he was in Italy. Yep.
So if he can do that, will he actually eat the money that he just paid Brian Cashman to get rid of him, and then having his new GM go after all that?
I don't know, but I don't know I admit, I don't know. I actually don't think that he will. That's why, again, the Cashman-Boone stuff, Boone's gone. The Cashman.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but the Cashman stuff is independent of what I'm saying now, what I was saying last week.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that that's the perfect solution, all right? I do think that there will be an absolute reinvestment, and a noticeable one, monetarily in the bottom line for the Yankees. Do I think that it will still be Cashman who will be the one pursuing players? I do. I don't want that. But you're also. Let me ask you this, Jimmy, as a Yankee fan. Would you rather have, let's see, okay, Cashman back and the Yankees going back to their free spending, and I know that they spend a lot, but I mean really spending like they used to, and spend $50-60 million more than everybody like they used to, or Cashman gone, new GM, and like a very limited offseason in terms of what they bring in? What's more appealing to you?
See, that's a hard one because I think about it. Because didn't last year Hal also say he's going to spend the money and get Brian to spend the money, and then yet Brian didn't spend the money? So that's where it's like, I just don't. But a new GM that could possibly prove himself and do it with a limited budget, I kind of almost feel like I could do that.
You know what's funny? I'm probably with you because I think that thanks for the call, man. I think there needs to be a complete recalibration of organizational philosophy. I mean, I forget which minor leaguer it was. There was a story about, it was very interesting, about a week or two ago. One of their former prospects played about 5 years in the minors. They basically said they try to make everybody the same player. Now, it's like a conveyor belt, All right, the swing's got to be launch angle here. What are you doing? Now, it's not, and I don't just take it as a guy who didn't make it, sour grapes, taking a shot at the Yankees, because I see it. It's visible. I mean, think about how flawed a business model that is. Imagine if my bosses, Chris Olivero and Spike, literally tried to make all of the talent here at the Fan project the same way. Like, do you know how different? Now, Sal and I happen to be similar, like our style, our energy, but like me and Greg are very different. Sal and Greg, different. Evan and Tiki, incredibly different. Me and Tiki, very different. Me and McPherson, overnight, great job. Different presentation. Just a different way of going about it. And imagine we all had to try to do the same thing. It would work for some because it would play to some of our talents, and others would colossally fail because you're being asked to do something you're not really comfortable or capable of doing. So the Yankees are a complete disaster. Nobody's running from that. But I think the bailout is coming this winter. Hal knows he must do it now. Otherwise, you might not ever get it back. 877-337-6666. All right, we'll get to your calls. What do you think about that? Already a bunch of disagreements, so it seems if I'm kind of lone wolf on this. BT and Sal on the Fan.